This comforting feeling just touched everybody. This was a miracle. Be grateful.
This time on Unexplained Mysteries, the Angel Files. A 4-year-old boy falls out of a tree. He believes an angel saved his life.
She had a long white nightgown on.
A woman gets hit by a truck. Find out what she sees just before impact.
I saw this beautiful person.
You'll hear the uplifting story of a drug addict who claims an angel changed his life.
It was like a being that was just outlined, glowing, that said to me, "You have been chosen."
A policeman says goodbye to his dying mother, but he's convinced he was in the presence of others.
Her bed was encircled by possibly 11, 12 different beings.
A nurse watches a strange mist float above a dying man.
And when the cloud went away, the patient died. It was the angel who came after him.
Some doctors believe angels may visit the dying.
It's time to go, and it's okay.
A woman declared dead says she saw her grandmother's spirit.
She says, Renelle. Renelle's grandma.
A little girl, kidnapped and left to die in the desert, feels she was guided to safety by an angel.
She had a glow around her. She was kind of up in the air.
And her family believes the angel was the spirit of her younger sister.
She said, I feel like Jessica was the one that was in the desert when I needed the help.
Crazed gunmen terrorize a grade school, and students testify that angels saved them.
Should have been 160 people dead.
And we'll put all the facts together for you in the UNX Report, right here on Unexplained Mysteries. Many Americans believe in the existence of angels.
The latest Gallup poll shows that 65% of us believe in angels. 75% of us who are between the ages of 18 and 25 believe in angels.
Why does the belief in angels appeal to so many people in this day and age?
AIDS, a troublesome economy, a high divorce rate, changing sex roles. All of these things make for an uncertain world. People are turning to angels in an attempt to find security, power, control, meaning in their lives.
A 4-year-old boy claimed he had an angelic experience. One day, he was climbing a tall tree. Suddenly, he lost his grip.
I didn't think I was falling as fast as I should be. And so I looked down for the ground, and I was trying to turn over, and I heard a voice, and she was saying, "Don't look down, don't look down." And there was a girl. She had a long white nightgown on, and she had long flowing hair. And she said, "Don't look down, you'll get hurt. Look at me, you'll be okay."
Wes doesn't remember the impact and says that lying on the ground, he felt peaceful.
I took him to the doctors, and the doctor pointed to him and said he fell the safest way possible. He impacted his shoulder and broke his collarbone. He said anything else would have done major damage.
Years later, Wes revealed his angelic encounter.
I could sense that there was something he wasn't telling me.
There is a conspiracy of silence in this country as far as paranormal phenomena is concerned. People keep these stories close to the vest for fear of ridicule.
Angels at the time were not part of our vocabulary, but this certainly meets my description of what an angel would be.
Some experts feel an angel experience has a biological explanation.
I think that it tends to be a physiologic event, sort of like a hallucination, but not as vague as a hallucination would be.
But that doesn't explain all the reports of angelic encounters.
Tens of millions of people are claiming to have had these experiences. Are they all deluded? If you have people who are pathologically hallucinating, you get individual, random, chaotically random stories. You don't have stories falling into a pattern.
I don't know that I deserved some help, but for some reason I got some help from somebody.
While playing at a pool party in Normal, Illinois, another young boy claims he came into contact with an angel.
And we had fastened water wings on Daniel because he couldn't swim.
somehow, and we really don't know when, he took the water wings off. And he ended up in the deep end of the pool. He was just laying down there, this little ball.
Daniel nearly drowned. When he was revived, he made an unusual statement.
He said, did you know that there was an angel and there was a bright light, and the angel and the bright light were inside a tunnel?
A tunnel with a light inside and an angel.
Children seem to have a natural affinity for wonder, and so they're very open to the kinds of things that apparitions bring.
Children aren't the only ones who claim angelic episodes.
The ice cream truck just came first, and I saw him so close. It was so close that I could see his face. But then I said with all my heart, God, don't let me die. And right after that, I saw this beautiful, beautiful person. It was a male. And he was like when you see somebody in slow motion, just coming towards me at the same speed as the truck, but his hands were like this, stretched to me.
The truck slammed into Estella. She suffered a number of injuries, including the loss of her leg, but surprisingly felt no pain.
I had no idea that I had lost my leg. I had broken ribs. I had a collapsed lung. I was conscious when I went to the hospital. I did not feel pain. I had peace with me.
Experts believe angels appear to only certain people in need.
My experience tells me that we have to get into enough pain in our lives before we're ready to move into healing and into transformation.
The presence of angels is not limited to life-threatening events.
I had a lot of hate. I reeked in hate. It radiated from me. My eyes were black from what I've been told by people that know me.
Daryl Cochran had two big problems, drugs and alcohol.
He was a hellraiser. He was constantly in trouble. He was slowly working his way to either to prison or to be dead.
When Daryl's younger brother Mike was shot dead in a drug deal and set on fire, Daryl went wild.
I was on like a 5-day bender, non-stop. And I remember sitting in my living room and the pain, the ungodly pain. And I fell on my hands and knees on the floor, and I was puking blood. And all of a sudden, I felt a warmth, an incredible warmth all over me.
Daryl claims that's when he saw an incredibly brilliant light.
There was an outline of a being. There was a voice. And it said, you have been chosen to be a light to others. And I knew then I'd finally flipped. I'd lost it. Gone right over the edge. The next thing I remember was this incredible feeling of peace.
From that day forward, Daryl changed his life. He stopped drinking and taking drugs, and he created a teenage anti-drug program. All this because Daryl feels he was visited by an angel.
Whatever it was, must have been some sort of miracle.
Daryl believes that his guardian angel or a guardian angel appeared to him and with some sort of communication from the angel induced a transformation.
Daryl felt that he'd be the last person to get angelic assistance, but his experience affects him to this day.
This silhouette in this brilliance of light, it was like a being that was just outlined, glowing, that said to me, you have been chosen. Me, I've been chosen. I have a guardian angel in my life, and it goes before me.
Later on Unexplained Mysteries, the Angel of Death.
The Angel of Death is a rather friendly and loving figure.
A hard-edged policeman softens when beings appear as his mother dies.
I believe that the figures were angels.
A nurse tells of her frequent sightings of angelic creatures.
I feel like you've been given a glimpse of the other side.
And doctors report similar experiences.
He told me that 2 nights before, in a dream, he saw his mother and another figure.
A husband and wife are burned in a plane crash. Both claim they saw an angel.
I saw what was a strong, muscular hand that was transparent-like.
And he grabbed an invisible hand, and he walked directly out of that plane, across the wingtip.
A young kidnapping victim that may have been helped by a kind spirit.
And she saw the little spirit standing there. That helped her go the right way.
Hostages say they survived a bomb blast with the help of angels.
I saw this woman, and she told me that to listen to my brother and everything would be okay.
And we'll wrap it all up in our UNX report, here on Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, The Angel Files. The terrifying angel of death.
The angel of death has been traditionally defined as any angel to whom God delegates the power to take a mortal's life.
But now researchers believe that the angel of death is not always fearsome.
The good news is that generally the angel of death, contrary to the darker legends, is a rather friendly and loving figure.
Experts report a growing number of incidents where luminous beings appear at the time of death to ease the passage to the other side.
I witnessed death quite often, probably on the average of once a week. I've always been very skeptical of angels or any other claim of religious experience like that. Through my training as a police officer, I was trained to be skeptical of things.
As Elman's mother lay dying, he did his best to make her comfortable.
To know that it's okay to die. I know that you're ready to go. I told her that I loved her and that she should enjoy the trip. It was time for her to go and that it was okay for her to go. And I think she was at peace when we talked about that.
He felt the atmosphere change as if a gentle calm had enveloped the room.
All of a sudden, I was aware that her bed was encircled by possibly 11, 12 different beings completely encircling her bed. And these beings were dressed in a coarsely woven burlap-like cloak, and there was a very warm golden glow bathing the entire area. They were standing as a human being would stand. They were just very quiet and very still, and I could actually see through the being that was on my left.
Then his mother died.
I've heard that the soul departs from the body before the body actually dies, so this may very well have been what I saw.
The experience affected him profoundly.
I believe that the figures were angels, and I believe that they came to escort my mother's soul to heaven. That's what I believe.
People who work in the medical profession have numerous accounts of angels. They claim angels don't always appear in human form. Sometimes they appear as animals or other entities. A nurse saw a cloud floating above a dying man.
And when the cloud went away, the patient died. And it was just always been my belief that that was the angel who came after him.
Researchers insist that the cloud was the spirit of the man as he passed away.
You just feel awe when you see something like that because you feel like you've been given a glimpse, a little bit of a glimpse of the other side.
Many of Linda's patients have told her of angelic visions before they died.
I've had them tell me that the angel came and took me and showed me heaven. This is very common. In fact, it's more common for it to happen than for it not to happen.
Other medical professionals are certain they've witnessed some kind of angelic event.
I have seen patients reach moments of peace, not resignation with their death, but just acceptance about it and readiness to go on to the next phase. It's no medicine that's made them feel like that. It's a spiritual something that's gone on inside of them.
After observing so many of these encounters, Dr. Alexander is a firm believer.
Every angel story I hear makes me believe more in angels. I mean, I believe, when these people say they see something, I believe them. I wouldn't mind seeing an angel myself.
Dr. Alexander's husband is also an internist. He had a strange visit from a patient.
He told me that 2 nights before, in a dream, he saw his mother and another figure. And they told him he was going to be dying on Sunday morning.
But the patient was in perfect health.
I just don't normally put people in the hospital unless they're very, very sick. And this is just the most unusual experience I have ever had.
Making his rounds that Saturday night, Dr. Alexander confirmed his patient was doing well.
And at 5:05 on Sunday morning, he took his last breath and he died. There was no explanation other than something supernatural having intervened.
The doctors realize that the medical community doesn't share their opinion of angels, but they are firm believers.
I believe that angels exist. I believe that there is a guardian angel for each of us, whether we see it or not. And I believe that there is another figure that can be interpreted as the angel of death that does come at the time of death, a very peaceful spirit, to let that person know it's time to go and it's okay.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries, a short plane trip turns into a journey to the other side.
She says, Renelle, it's Grandma. It hit me. She had died 2 years before. Am I dead?
More doctors are convinced patients often get otherworldly help.
We have guardian angels that watch over us and help us out whenever we are in need of help.
A child in danger says she found safety through a spiritual guide.
She had blonde hair and bluish eyes, and she had a glow around her.
And her family believes the spirit was her unborn sister.
I think it was me. I believe my sister, I was her angel.
The amazing tale of the angels who saved school children from deranged gunmen.
It was just like this total peace and this comforting feeling just touched everybody.
It was just a feeling just to be relaxed and not to worry that you'll make it through it.
And you'll get to the bottom of all the facts with the UNX Report on Unexplained Mysteries.
Explore the world's greatest mysteries. From the classified government documents that claim UFOs exist to spontaneous human combustion.
The smoke just started pouring out of my arm.
Plus, madman or werewolf.
The ears began to point and he howled.
On the next Unexplained Mysteries. The signs are everywhere.
Closed captioning provided by...
With Meinke's All Change Plus, you'll get an oil change, plus a tire rotation, plus a brake inspection. Meinke, right service, right price.
Unexplained Mysteries, The Angel Files. Many people claim angels saved their lives. A husband and wife were in a horrific plane crash. Both say they experienced visitations from angels. It was to be a short flight of 15 minutes. It became a nightmare.
I had had a vision the night before. It was real clear. It was what was going to happen the very next day. And I woke up in a cold sweat, and I sat up, and Terry was sound asleep, and I started getting very panicky, and I woke him up, and I said, promise me no matter what happens tomorrow, we're not going to get back in that plane, right?
When they checked out of the hotel, the front desk clerk also gave them a warning.
She says, you're not going to fly today, are you? Well, yeah, we're just making a short flight. And she says, I really don't like the thought of you guys getting in that plane.
Despite the clerk's apprehension, Renelle and Terry took off. Suddenly, the clear blue sky filled with clouds.
And it was though someone had taken a white sheet and just wrapped it tightly around the cockpit.
like fingers of clouds just came down in to almost zero visibility.
And I said, Terry, the ground, it's coming up. The whole horizon was coming right up at us.
And then all of a sudden the mountain was there, and that's when I just pulled back up and she started screaming, the ground.
Quickly, Terry pulled up on the steering column, which caused us to belly flop against the mountain. As we did, parts of the plane started flying all over the place. The sparks were coming out on the wingtips. When I got sucked out onto the wingtip, I was completely engulfed in flames. My whole body was completely on fire.
The burning plane skidded to a halt. Rennell was alive, but badly burned. Terry was more fortunate, with injuries only to his hands. And he had seen something during the crash.
I saw what was like a strong, muscular hand that was translucent, whitish, goldish, transparent-like, come like this, and I just felt peace and comfort from here that I wasn't going to get smashed.
As I looked over at the flame, Terry stood up inside the flame, and he grabbed an invisible hand, and he walked directly out of that plane, across the wingtip. I looked up at him, amazed, because he was unscathed. He says, "Where's the man that pulled me out, Rennell?"
Rennell and Terry now had to hike nearly 6 miles through snow to safety.
The skin of my hands were causing me a lot of pain. At one point, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I just yanked both of them off, and I left them on the ground.
Rennell had peeled the charred skin from her burnt hands.
So we had to climb the barbed wire fences, basically burnt barehanded and ripped, which was very difficult to do. And was what was amazing to me is I felt led. I felt guided which way to go.
They made it to a highway where a truck driver radioed paramedics. But in the ambulance, Rennell's body finally gave up. Her heart stopped.
And all of a sudden, I just let go. And at that moment, I felt peace. And it was quiet. And then in a quick moment, I was standing up. And as I looked, I could see these nurses all crowded around this gurney. I saw a hand fall off the gurney, and it was black and charcoal, and I realized whose hand that was.
Rennell saw her life pass before her eyes.
And as I started to look around, I saw a woman coming from the distance moving toward me. She had white hair. She was wearing a white dress. And she called out my name. She says, "Rennell. Rennell, it's Grandma." "Grandma?" "Yes, Rennell, it's me." She reached out her hand. Well, now, wait a minute. It hit me. She had died 2 years before. Am I dead?
Was this vision an angel? In the emergency room, a doctor was pronouncing Rennell legally dead. Rennell says her grandmother taught her vital lessons.
I learned that love was not just this emotion that you feel in your body. It is an actual power that empowers your own soul and your own life.
Rennell claims she then saw an image from the future, perhaps another angel.
I saw a young man come from the distance, and he said, "Mom, why are you here?" "Mom?" "Nathaniel." He says, "I need you, Mom. You have to go back." At that moment, as I looked into his eyes, I realized I needed to set my own selfish needs aside. I said, "I promise you, Nathaniel, I'll give you your chance. I promise."
Then she let go of Rennell's hand.
And just before I came into it, I could see my hand off to the side of the bed. And then when my spirit had come into it, I absolutely couldn't stand it. It was an instant pain.
Rennell relied on the memory of Nathaniel to get her through the numerous surgeries and grueling physical therapy.
She was a very motivated person who became very goal-oriented and was sure that she was going to beat this. We have guardian angels that watch over us and help us out whenever we are in need of help.
Rennell's difficult rehabilitation seemed to solidify the Wallaces' marriage.
Somehow it fused us together. It's like the hands were both burnt, they're both fused together. See, so we had the same matching mittens where people had their wedding rings and all that. They match, and so what's happened is we kind of got fused.
Years after she was declared dead, Rennell has survived to give birth to a son. His name, Nathaniel. Rennell and Terry now share her grandmother's words with others by visiting hospitals to comfort burn victims.
Remembering hearing my children's echoes down in the valley and thinking, that's why I lived. This is the reason.
Coming up on Unexplained Mysteries, a kidnapped young girl finds her way to safety with the help of a kindly spirit.
She was telling me it'd be all right and that I'd be okay.
School children held at gunpoint believe that angels help them overcome their fear.
I guess you could explain it as peace. You know, that nothing could happen to us.
A mother is amazed by her daughter's story.
I embraced her, and she, at that point, stood and told me, Mommy, the angel saved us.
And a boy who's afraid of the truth.
He just looked at me and he said, Dad, you would believe me?
And we'll tie it all up for you in our Onyx Report, here on Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, The Angel Files. Angels are often credited with extraordinary rescues. A 3-year-old girl is kidnapped.
She was kind of a bouncy little kid, always into trouble and always jumping on, you know, always wanting hugs and kisses and jumping on you and mauling you, and she was always fun. The day that she was kidnapped, everything changed. Everything was different. It was just unimaginable.
Mesa, Arizona. Rhonda Skidmore rushed to her son's school.
I had to go to the school to help Robert. And so I took some things into the school and I left my little kids in the car.
That's when a kidnapper made his move.
When I came back, the little boy in the car that had been babysitting, he said a man took her out of the car. And I looked around and she was nowhere.
Over the next 2 days, police searched for the girl and her abductor. Back home, her brothers and sisters were desperate.
Robert went to the front door and just screamed, trying to call her home. And he did that until his voice was totally spent.
This incident occurred in the fall time, which in Arizona we see our greatest extremes, the extreme heat, the extreme cold. Children lose heat and become dehydrated very quickly, and it could even progress to a point of unconsciousness, what we call heat stroke, and a large percent of those patients could die.
A thunderstorm forced the police to stop the search. Hope was fading.
We actually had one news reporter say, "How will you feel when they find her dead body?"
But 3 days after her abduction, a hunter made a startling discovery.
I was hunting quail. I hit one. Upon retrieving it, walking up to where it was laying, I picked it up, looked across the wash to the left, and upon doing so, I saw her in the wash looking at me. She had lots of scratches all over her legs, her arms, and her. She wasn't walking very good because she was barefooted. Her feet were tore up, and I asked her if she wanted me to carry her, and she replied yes. It amazed me that she wasn't crying or whining about nothing, not at all.
Bingham took her to the police, who rushed her to the hospital. The young girl had been in the desert for 3 days and nights without food or water.
They were very amazed that she survived that Thursday night because it was so cold and it was so windy. And sure, should have put her in a coma. Because of her weakened condition, she should not have been able to survive it.
Doctors felt her survival was miraculous, but that might not have been the only miracle.
She didn't really react to us. She recognized us and just kind of stared at us. And finally she said, "I saw Heather playing." Heather's her 2-year-old younger sister. And that's all that she said really so far. She said what?
Anything about the man that...
She hasn't said anything other than, I saw Heather playing.
No, she didn't have that.
We don't know.
There was no way Heather could have been there. Gradually, the abducted girl began to talk of her time in the desert.
She mentioned that she was really, really hungry, really, really thirsty, and her feet hurt because of all the cactus storms. And then she started talking about the little girl that she saw in the desert.
But who was that little girl?
She had blonde hair, and bluish eyes, and she was in white clothes, and her hair was about shoulder length, a little longer, and she had a glow around her, and she wasn't standing on the ground. She was kind of up in the air. I felt like she was telling me I'd be all right and that I'd be okay.
She believes the girl guided her to safety.
She was walking and she saw the little spirit standing there, and it caused her to turn and walk a different direction. And when she walked the other direction, then that's when she found the hunter. And she felt like that helped her go the right way.
A year later, the Skidmore family got a new member, a baby named Jessica. Eventually, her older sister made a remarkable connection.
And she said, I feel like Jessica was the one that was in the desert when I needed the help.
I think it was me. I believe my sister, I was her angel.
Did this little girl see an angel? Did her sister's spirit guide her to safety?
I still think Jessica is my angel because I think that she must love me, and I think I love her more just because of what has happened.
Coming up on Unexplained Mysteries, students are taken hostage. Did angels come to the rescue?
Yes, this was a miracle. Be grateful.
There was an angel for everybody watching over him that day.
Video evidence might prove the presence of angels.
I think there probably were angels in the room when the bomb went off.
And we'll cap it off with our UNX report, right here on Unexplained Mysteries. Unexplained Mysteries, The Angel Files. Angels seem to appear in desperate situations. Children are taken hostage in a Wyoming school. David and Doris Young walked into Cokeville Elementary School with a deadly mission.
I said to them, "Is there something I could do to help you, sir?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am, there certainly is. This is a revolution. Your school's being taken hostage. Consider yourself a hostage." If you'd looked in David Young's eyes, you knew it was no joke.
They're heavily armed, and a bomb is wired to David Young's body.
He said the bomb was capable of blowing up the entire building. He said it will level this whole building and everyone in it. The hardest part of the whole thing was that I started out in this thing alone, and I couldn't warn anyone.
The Youngs took Christine to the first grade classroom at gunpoint. They forced the school's 153 students and teachers into the tiny room.
He said, "This is a revolution. I'm holding you hostage." And one of the girls in my class just went hysterical.
He demanded a ransom of $2 million for each hostage. With police and parents waiting helplessly outside the school, the tension inside the classroom increased.
We had children sick to their stomach, crying, and asking their teachers, "Why can't we go home? I want to go home."
Young put down tape in the shape of a square. He and Doris sat inside it. He said if anyone else stepped into the square, he would set off the bomb. Although he was acting more disturbed, the children became calmer.
It was just like this total peace and this comforting feeling just touched everybody. I guess you could explain it as peace. Always, that nothing could happen to us.
It was just a feeling just to be relaxed and not to worry that you'll make it through it.
Then the bomb went off.
The room was almost instantaneous black, and we had teachers over there that were grabbing kids, trying to get them out through the classroom windows.
This lady grabbed my hand and she pushed me out the window. And I don't know if I would have made it out because I was too afraid to move. That was the most frightening experience. Not knowing how many had left, if any, of my classmates.
Somehow, the bombers were the only ones to die.
And I heard Mr. Moore and a whole bunch of people would start yelling, you know, we're all here, we all counted, we're all here. It was a great moment. We were very happy we were all alive.
Then, the children started to tell strange accounts of how they survived.
And I could see my youngest daughter, Katie, sitting on the ground, and she told me, Mommy, the angel saved us.
I just kind of looked out and I saw this woman, and she told me that to listen to my brother and everything would be okay. And I looked up again and she wasn't there anymore. And then my brother came over and he told me to stay by the window and everything would be okay. And he walked back across the room and that's when the bomb went off.
Several weeks later, Katie was surprised when she opened her mother's old locket. Inside, a photograph of her grandmother.
My mother had passed away when I was 15 and a half years old. And I had very few pictures of her. She looked at this woman in this locket and said, that's who she is. That's the woman that helped me.
But Katie had never seen her grandmother.
When I saw the photo, they told me that she died, and I came to the realization that she had been sent to help me and that she was my guardian angel.
Other children started to come forward with similar accounts.
I did not want my own son, flesh and blood, going around saying that he saw an angel.
To get to the truth, Hartley applied police techniques to his son Nathan.
He said that he was sitting there and all of a sudden these angels came down through the ceiling, and one of them came up to him and just basically said, Nathan, I'm your great-grandmother, and what David and Doris are doing is wrong. And he said the bomb's going to go off.
Hartley showed his son a picture of his great-grandmother's.
He says, that's her. He says, that's my guardian angel. He pointed to my Grandma Elliott. I says, Nathan, I says, why didn't you tell us this before? And he just looked at me and he says, Dad, you wouldn't believe me.
Bomb experts said the explosion should have destroyed the entire classroom and everyone in it.
Should have been 160 people dead.
But someone or something saved the hostages' lives. A videotape made after the blast reveals a strange image burned into the wall. The children said it is the exact spot where one of the angels was standing. They're convinced they had help.
That was a sign showing us, you know, that yes, this was a miracle. Be grateful.
I think there probably were angels in the room when the bomb went off. And so, like, the image was just impacted on the wall.
There's absolutely no way that we could have made it through that without some kind of help.
Next on Unexplained Mysteries, we sum it all up in our UNX report. The angels that might have saved children in peril. The spirit that turned a drug addict's life around. The beings that a policeman claims he saw when his mother died. The plane crash victim who may have glimpsed the other side. And a little girl who could have been saved by an angel. This and more when Unexplained Mysteries returns. Report. Are there angels? People from all ages and backgrounds claim that angels have saved their lives. A child fell out of a tree. He says an angel helped him.
She had a long white nightgown on, and she had long flowing hair. She said, don't look down, you'll get hurt. Look at me, you'll be okay.
When another child nearly drowned, he saw an image inside a tunnel of bright light.
He said, did you know that there was an angel?
A woman was crushed by a runaway truck, but not before she saw a beautiful figure moving towards her.
His hands were like this, stretched to me.
When a drug addict hit rock bottom, He says he was visited by a benevolent creature who changed his life.
There was an outline of a being. All of a sudden, there was a voice. And it said, "You have been chosen to be a light to others."
A police officer claims he saw angels when his mother died.
All of a sudden, I was aware that her bed was encircled by possibly 11, 12 different beings.
A nurse maintains she saw a cloud hovering over a dying man.
It's just always been my belief that that was the angel who came after him.
Doctors familiar with death are convinced that angels exist.
I mean, I believe when these people say they see something, I believe them.
A Utah woman had a nightmarish premonition.
I had had a vision the night before, and I said, "Terry, wake up. Promise me no matter what happens tomorrow, we're not going to get back in that plane, right?"
After being declared dead, the woman had a vision.
She had white hair. She was wearing a white dress. It hit me. She had died 2 years before. Am I dead?
An innocent child was kidnapped. She insists that a beatific little girl saved her life.
She had a glow around her, and she wasn't standing on the ground. She was kind of up in the air.
When a pair of gunmen took a school hostage, several students reported that angels helped them survive a bomb blast.
There's absolutely no way that we could have made it through that without some kind of help.
But some scientists believe there is a human explanation for angelic visions.
I think that it tends to be a physiologic event, sort of like a hallucination, but not as vague as a hallucination would be.
Witnesses describe all sorts of encounters with angels, at terrible accidents, while working with the dying, and during near-death experiences. Could they all be wrong? Or do angels really exist? For now, those answers must remain an unexplained mystery.
I believe that angels exist. I believe that there is a guardian angel for each of us, whether we see it or not.